Hi and welcome to Roost Restorations. In this video I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be creating an oak fire surround for the fireplace in our living room. So the first thing I needed to do was to get everything measured up, and once I had that information I could start working on cutting the pieces. To save some time and wastage, I decided to use 100mm square-edged oak skirting board, or baseboard as it would be called in the United States. Initially I cut the boards roughly to length and then matched them up in pairs to make the final dimensioning. As a festool domino is well out of my price bracket, I decided to use dowels to connect all the pieces together. The jig that I'm using helps me to centre the holes on the board and make everything easy to line up. Once the holes were drilled, I used dowel pins to mark the exact location on the opposite board. With all the holes drilled, I glued in the dowels, taking care to avoid getting the glue too close to the face edge. With the face frame complete, I was able to push it back against the hearth and measure the distance I needed to fill at the back. Once I'd cut the fillets for both sides, I sharpened up a couple of planes and then used them to remove all the table saw marks. With the fillets planed down to their exact dimensions, I was then able to start gluing them to the face frame. I used an edge breaking cutter in the router just to take the sharp edges off. It's only a 2.5mm radius, but it makes a big difference to how the piece feels. Looking at the plume of dust that came out of the sander, you realise why it's important to wear that dust mask. I used a light oak stain to try and give the piece a bit more colour because I was trying to match it to the shelf that sits above it. When the stain was dry, I gave everything a good coat of Gilboy's hard wax oil, which gives it a lovely sheen before you polish it. Once I'd brushed on the wax oil, I went over it with a blue cloth, just to try and take off any excess and to make sure there were no brush marks left. I previously stripped the dark varnish from the shelf, sanded it down, and then gave it some wax oil and a final polish. For simplicity, I decided to mount the fire surround onto the mantelpiece using a French cleat, and I think it worked very well. To make the French cleat, I simply cut the board at 45 degrees, stuck one half onto the wall, and stuck the other half onto the back of the fire surround. That way I just have to drop it on and it holds it firm. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did, and I'll see you next time.